Advanced Power. My name is Estefania Galeano, and today my class is about the simple present tense. So, as an introduction, we could determine what the simple present tense is for, right? So, it is used to describe an action that is regular, true, or common. Basically, for repeated actions, for facts, for habits and routines, and for things that are generally true. So, at this point, our class is going to be divided in three main things. First of all, how in affirmative sentences the auxiliary verb is not seen, but the conjugations are made equally to the third singular person of the personal pronouns. Then, how the auxiliary verb takes place as a negative form inside of negative sentences. And finally, how to do interrogative sentences using the auxiliary verb, right? So, first of all, we could try to explain how verbs interact with the simple present tense. Well, it is clear that we use the infinitive form of the verbs. But what is usually complicated about this is the changes that take place within the conjugations and the personal pronouns. So, even if we use the infinitive form of verbs, we even have an auxiliary verb that is present in negative and in interrogative sentences, which is do. Okay? So the do form also has negative and a form for the third person of singular. This is going to be explained a little bit later. Okay? So as first point about the infinitive changes that verbs have in affirmative sentences, right? Let's start speaking about the addition that we do to the verbs. So we already know that our personal pronouns are usually connected. Okay? And as it happens with the third person, these three engage the same changes, okay? Which could be summarized by the addition of es at the end of the verb, or only the s. So in which cases do we add es and in which cases do we add s? Well, there are a few grammar rules that could explain this. So magically the rules are going to appear, so just wait for it. So here we are. This is our first rule. For verbs that end in o, ch, sh, ss, x, or instead in z, we are going to add es. Alright? So it happens with catches. Catch turns into catches. Booze turns into bruises. Okay? We have wash turns into washes. And the same happens with face. This is for the third person, okay? Of singular, of course. There you have it. This is the first rule, which is quite simple. So as long as you see a verb which finishes in any of these letters or combinations of letters, you just need to add the es for having the affirmative third person form for the simple present tense. So let's wait until it appears the second one. As our second rule, we have that for verbs that end in a consonant plus a y, we just replace the y for an I and add up the es. Alright? So it happens with Mary. It becomes Marius. You see? With Carrie, becomes Carries. With worry, the same. Okay? So let's wait until magically appears the final one. Finally, our last rule of all is for the verbs that end in a vowel plus y, we just add the s. Okay? So, for example, it happened with say, turns into says. Play turns into enjoy, it also happens. Enjoys. These are just few examples of it. Okay, so this is the main part of the affirmative sentences. And you would ask, how is the change only in the infinitive form and not in the auxiliary? Well, the answer is that in affirmative sentences, in this tense, we don't see the auxiliary verb. It's not present in the sentence. So the only way we can really recognize that it is simple present tense is by the action verb. Alright? So if it is in an infinitive form or if it has this kind of changes, it means that it's simple present tense. So the main part of the affirmative sentence is that the auxiliary verb is not visible. It only appears inside of negative and interrogative sentences. So here we are. We can have this example that says that Mary works hard. It is a mistake to say that Mary works hard. Okay, this is wrong. Why? Because it is affirmative. There's no need to put the auxiliary verb. So this is a sentence in simple present tense, simply because the action verb, is an infinitive, and because in the third person, alright, this is she, and because of it, it has the S, because of the plenty of rules we already settled down. Okay? So, the affirmative sentences have this thing of the auxiliary verb. So what happens with a negative sentence? Well, basically the auxiliary verb takes the negative form, which is do not. Okay? So this is a thing. Third singular person in the personal pronouns takes a change within the affirmative sentence. So, does it happen to you inside of the negative sentences? The answer is yes. Because of what? Because we have the do form for the personal pronouns that are not the third singular person. And this, as we settled in one of our rules, verbs that finished in O are transformed adding up es. So this is the way we could recognize a third person in a negative and interrogative sentence. So how does this apply to the do not? We simply add the don't. Don't. Okay? Contractions? Well, so one, we have do not, and its construction is don't. Right? We have does not, and its construction doesn't. And now, where is the auxiliary verb found inside of negative sentences? Where is its location? Well, in the affirmative, we did not have any of the auxiliary verbs. But in negative, we could say that Mary, remember this is she, so yes, it is the third person, negative. We add up does not. This is contraction does not work hard. Hey, what happened? The S here disappeared. Why is that? Well, basically, the way we recognize that it's third person is going to be inside of the auxiliary verb. And the action verb is going to stay in its main form. As long as the does is involved, you don't need to carry any change inside of the action verb, alright? So, as long as you have this present, you cannot have this change. It is incorrect to say that Mary doesn't works. Okay? Why? Because we have the S here and the ES here. So we are saying 2 times the same thing. Alright? So remember, the change here is carried in the auxiliary verb. Let's have another example with the personal pronoun of you. Okay? This is do not. Don't walk. You do not walk. Right? This is simpler than ever because of what? We don't need changes here, we don't need changes here. The only thing is that we need to add the not so it can be negative. Okay? Okay, so the forms for the affirmative is infinitive verb with changes such as es, s, and ies. Okay? In the affirmative. And in the negative, we have the do not and the does not, which is for the third person. Okay? So what happens with the questions? Well, in the interrogative sentences of the simple present tense, right? What happens to our auxiliary verb is that it's going to be involved at the beginning of the sentence. If we're going to use do, if we are going to use do, right? This signifies that it is interrogative, okay? If we're going to use do, it means that our pronoun is not going to be the third singular person. So you could ask, do you? Because of why? Because you goes with do, okay? So we only change the order. Do you, then goes the action verb in its infinitive form, alright? Do you like chocolate? And the question mark. That's the principal form. So how do we do interrogative sentences with a third person of the singular part of the personal pronouns? Well, basically we start with does, which signifies that there's going to be a third singular person. Does she, right? And then like. As I said before, when does is involved, you don't need to carry any of the changes for the third person inside of the action verb. Just leave it in the infinitive form, whether it is in a negative sentence or whether it is in an interrogative sentence. Okay? One cannot say does likes, okay? In the same sentence. It is incorrect. And one cannot say do likes. It is incorrect, okay? So, the changes, if the auxiliary verb is present, all the changes are going to be carried out by it, not by the action verb. So, how can we do? Okay, these were just no questions, okay? I didn't put it on the board, but these were just no questions. You could answer with yes or no. You could answer yes, I do. Yes, she does. You see? No, he doesn't. So, how do we do WH questions? Well, basically we have the WH words. This is not WH, but it is there, okay? Who, why, when, and where. There's a baby outside and it's crying. Okay, so these are going to be at the beginning of the sentence. And yes, the auxiliary verb is going to be involved. So, let's try it out. Interrogative. What does he like? WH form, auxiliary verb with the changes. For example, in this is third person, and the action verb in its infinitive form. That's the way, okay? So, does he like? You need to complete something, but you just add the WH form so you can have a WH question. Well, guys, this is probably all that needs to be talked about this. We already settled what it is used for. How does it change for whether of the sentences, whether it is affirmative, negative, or interrogative, WH and yes, no questions, and how the changes appear inside of the third person singular. So that's all. I hope it is helpful for you and your English. Well, thank you for being present within me, the camera, and the